So welcome. Here we have Dr. Vegaas Singh with us. Now, what I want to, or what I would like to understand a bit before Vegas is tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so really glad to be here. Honored because I'm with one of my mentors and somebody I've always looked up to. My professional life started with him. My career as a fitness trainer. But professionally, I'm a doctor. Spent over a decade in China. Also a professional teacher. Did my MBBS and then my B.Ed in physical education. Now I just moved back to India a year back. 2023 November end was my move. Now I'm working as a part-time influencer, athlete. And
Full-time influencer,
athlete, rehab and fitness trainer, and semi-professional bodybuilder. And yes, that's what it is.
Just 1 second. How many medals do you have?
I have honestly lost count. I'm being completely honest and modest.
And how many of them are gold medals?
Most of them. Yeah.
Semi-professional bodybuilder.
It's more towards my passion and not professionally into it, not making money out of it. So kind of semi-professional, but yeah, it's a passion and something I can't live without. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you. You gave me a lot of points to talk about, but what we want to understand a bit better is that there are not so many people who are doctors and bodybuilders, right? Because usually out there, you start your career and you either decide I'm going to become a doctor or you have a passion for fitness from a young age and you're like, hey, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. This is something I want to do. So actually, before I understand how you incorporate science into your training, how did this begin? Like, how did a doctor become a bodybuilder?
So I was never a maths fan, never into mathematics. So I would just say me becoming a doctor was the only reason because I did not like mathematics and I dropped that. So the only option I had was biology because for some reason in that generation, not having science was not cool, which I still regret because I could have made much better decisions if I did not have that mindset. So yeah, me taking a PCB was the only option and I like biology. I liked medical sciences as something to study from and develop, but being the standard doctor was not my forte because I did my internship over there in my final year of medical sciences, but there was something very static. So I started playing basketball at a very early age. I got some part of my scholarship was because of basketball also. So fitness just came out of the blue because I still remember my captain of my basketball team, he took me to the gym and then it was very random. I started seeing results very quickly because I gave it my everything and then the basketball came out of the picture and then fitness was everything. It was supposed to be the other way around. And then 3 years down the line, I wanted to compete. And then I thought, okay, I'm being a doctor, so me knowing the anatomy and physiology, I could use that to an advantage at this field. And now, ever since then, it was just an avalanche, a ball growing bigger and bigger.
So because, I've known you for about 8 years, and something I really wanted to ask you 8 years ago, and I'm going to ask you right now. How did it work in the lab? Like, if this was a beaker, you're picking it up, or you're like this, or like that, or like that. How did that work?
Technically, yeah, because second year of MBBS, we were on hands with the cadaver anatomy classes, and we were actually dealing with cadaver. Yeah, so me figuring out how muscles actually look from the inside than us training them on the outside was two different things. And technically, the smell put me off really big time. But it was actually very interesting because we would figure out how small the nerves inside those muscles are and how they, they were responsible for providing that stimulus that we have, contractions, retractions, reflections. Everything was just that thin line. If you actually look at it, a nerve is like a very, very fine line, and without that, you would not even be able to control any little fraction of your muscle. So it was actually more interesting, and the fact that I knew I had to grow those muscles that unfortunately that cadaver didn't have was a very interesting and motivating journey for me. Yeah.
And then so in the, you saw this all in the lab and then you put this into practical application in bodybuilding. And where did you find the crossover? Was there a crossover? Did it not happen? How does it work like?
There will always be a crossover because people don't understand that bodybuilding in itself is a sport which is questioned a lot, but it's more science than a sport because you're actually dealing with your own body, right? So something that you need to apply on yourself because science applied is better than science learned. Everything about science is practical and you're the specimen, you're not applying it on something else. So the fact that when you learn something and you have to apply it on yourself and then you see results, that is something that I feel no amount of money or no amount of satisfaction can buy.
I love that, and I think also that gives Vegas a specific insight into the world of fitness, into the world of bodybuilding, because we don't have a lot of doctors who enter this space and they know about how the body works from the inside, but also the outside. So thank you so much for that intro, actually, and I'm esteemed to be sitting next to you, Vegas. I remember back when we started and just floundering around in China, I have no idea about anything. Just like, okay, ye badhiya, aaj protein mein kya kha rahe hain? Okay, something I really wanted to talk with you about, and I know we don't discuss this in the fitness circles a lot, is your mindset, right? How do you think about things? How do you go about things? Why do you do the way you do things? Because I presented this question to you before the podcast as well. If you honestly want to, you have everything in life. You're in a comfortable position. You don't need to grow. You don't need to do bigger things. You don't need to go for more. You can continue doing what you're doing right now and have a very decent life for most people. But I know you. I know that you keep pushing for new boundaries, keep hitting new goals. Why?
So the answer to that lies in the sport itself, bodybuilding. I mean, I feel like as a human being, if you don't have any purpose in life, you're no better than a water gatherer, right? That's how we started off. The term water gatherer in itself is they were wandering and gathering stuff, which every step they took because they wanted to explore. They wanted to explore because they had a purpose. Now, if a human doesn't have a purpose,
true,
he's defied by all causes, and the fact that we're also living the life of an athlete. For an athlete, if he doesn't have a goal, he will just wander off with. I mean, he will just leave his prime in no time at all. So, for me, it's that purpose: setting short-term goals and then achieving them, and then having a not so far off long-term goal. So, the fact that I set myself goals from 30 days from now. I have a small goal. I achieve that, then I put down another goal that is 60 days from now or 90 days from now. I don't have something like 5 years from now I want to do something or 10 years from now I want to do something, because honestly speaking, we can't guarantee that same time tomorrow we'll be alive, right? There is no physical proof to that. So having purpose in life is the only thing that drives that mindset.
Just one thing to understand as well, Vegas, right? You said a very good thing, having purpose in life. Why doesn't everyone have it? Why is it that some people are not pushing, not going beyond what they are capable of, or not even pushing the boundaries of what they are capable of? Whereas on the other hand, we have high performers like you. You have everything you could want in your life, and you're still wanting more, or you're still pushing for bigger things. What drives you to go after those goals, right? Because setting the goals is easy. Like we all like doing that, like sitting and writing down, okay, mujhe ye karna hai 5 saal mein, 10 saal mein, or like even the next month. But what is the motivation behind those goals?
The only motivation is the fact that I'm unsatisfied with what I've got. There's that with purpose comes hunger, and if with that hunger you keep wanting more. So that's why they say if you're satisfied with something that you already have, then there is no point. I mean, you don't deserve that thing in itself because you worked for that, you got satisfied, and then you laid off. So I feel one reason is that, the other reason being people aren't prioritizing the right things in life.
That's true.
They are prioritizing their comfort over them pushing their boundaries and wanting more. The fact that they say, okay, for example, 50 years down the line or 60 years down the line, in a human being's life, they say, okay, you should stop doing physical activities, you should stop running. But then on the other hand, there are people like Fateh Singh who started his marathon journey at 100. He won his first marathon when he was 100 years old. So if he can do that, imagine what us being, the younger generation can explore and still haven't explored. We're not pushing past the actual athletic potential of a human being. We still don't know what the potential is.
ये note मम्मी को भेजना पड़ेगा. She always tells me that this is not my age, this is not my time. That's brilliant, actually. A very good example as well present there. And this is for you as a professional bodybuilder, as someone who's in the industry. What would your advice be around the mindset for fitness for people who are busy professionals? Right, because I've got this job, I've got this thing lined up, this is more important for me right now. I guess that dials back to what you said about priorities.
Yes.
So how would you tell them, like, hey, if you're a busy professional, if you've got your life, we know that your career is number one priority. Why is it important for them to take care of their own fitness and health there?
I'm just going to ask the same question I ask my fitness clients who come to me for, advice. What would all of this be if that medium is not there? If you're not alive, would all of this matter? The work, the timings, the commitments, the meetings, the proposals, the projects, would any of that matter if you as a person, you're not available? You're not there, right? So people aren't prioritizing the right things. I mean, I get it. You're doing you have a 12-hour job, you have a 16-hour job. Then don't. If that is taking a tax on your health, it is not worth it.
Yeah.
You're making all that money for what? For your retirement goal, okay? For your kids, probably generational wealth. But then if you're not there, what does that money make sense? What does that, all of those achievements and the success make sense? It doesn't make sense because you in itself, you won't be there to enjoy it, right?
But I can count that money when I'm 70 and be happy.
Yeah.
While being unhealthy. It's a joke.
But then you won't be able to use it, right?
No, exactly.
You'll actually be using it, like we discussed, for longevity to help you get through those medical bills and ICUs. Yeah.
No, but that's what I exactly tell my parents as well, or anyone else I meet who tells me that I'm too old for this. I tell them there's no old age, and if you don't start right now, then you will have to pay the bills later. It could be, the bills are different. Right now, you pay the bills by maybe not socializing, maybe not having that extra glass of alcohol, maybe eating the right food, not having the junk. Later, the bills are when you have to go to the hospital, when you have to see a specialist, when you have to do all these things in line. Completely aligned with you over there. I agree with you. And then, we were talking a bit about busy professionals and how they struggle with stress and work. One of the feedbacks I received from someone who's in my network, they told me, I'm not being lazy, but it's just that I have so much work that it's crippling at times. I feel this anxiety, I can't move beyond that. So what would you recommend for people like this?
I would recommend him looking for something else because that is not for him.
That's true.
See, if you're not enjoying something that makes you busy or keeps you busy, what's the point of doing it? Because something that, for me, I have reached a point in my life where you would relate more because you've changed more places than I have. Anything that affects my mental health, I'm out. Even if that means me sitting at home for the next 3 or 6 months and figuring out what I want to do next, at least I'm happy, I am sane, I am mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Because, like my mom always says, disease in itself, the word dis-ease comes from, it's a mental thing, it starts first in your brain. What you actually see, the symptoms, the anxiety, the physical symptoms, that's the last stage.
Yeah.
I've spoken about this before, but I can't emphasize on this enough because people think that that's the first step. Okay, I figured out where I'm going wrong or what I have, so I need to go see a medical professional or somebody or a therapist. No, that's the last stage. It started off with this, the anxiety that you're getting from the stuff that you're doing, stuff that is keeping you engaged, say work or life or whatever commitments, anything that is taking a tax on your mental health, you need to get out of it. And okay, I get it. Next question people might ask that we have responsibilities, we have commitments,
exactly.
We have a family to feed. Yeah, but then is that worth you losing your life, you losing your peace, you losing your mental health? would your family want you to come back home and not be the person they fell for or they love or they want? What is the point of working so hard and coming back home and not being the person they want you to be? So I feel none of this is worth your mental.
I think that's a very good point. I love that point actually, because in the end you're doing this all for the people around you.
Exactly.
But then if you're not present yourself, then what are you doing it for, right? Like if they don't have you, they don't care about the things you provide. They care about you.
Exactly.
And if you're not there as a person, then
you're just an empty vessel.
Exactly.
You're sitting there doing nothing.
Okay, that's brilliant. And now we talked a bit about, we touched a bit on how older people should stick with fitness and navigate around fitness, and we talked a bit about work anxiety. Now, something I've discovered personally, and again, this is my personal opinion, but I feel that the generation right now, the younger generation, is getting more and more entitled, or they like to use the word entitled, in the sense that a lot of people feel that they deserve things just because they're there. And I don't agree with it completely. Like, I think that you should still work for the things, right? Nothing comes to you by sitting there and expecting that it should be delivered to you. So I wanted to touch a bit base with you, because I know that this also contributes to people's anxiety, because they think that, I saw someone online and I know that they changed this really quickly. Why is it not happening with me? I should be also getting the same result or same things as well. What do you think about this?
About this, I mean, it's a pro and a con. Pro because everything is available out there with one click or with one touch. Con is that everything is available out there. People aren't working for it anymore.
Yeah.
So they think that if this is available online, then something in terms in their head that is equally proportional to that offline is something that they're entitled to. Because just because they think somebody else has that, then why can't they also have it? But they don't know the story behind it. Probably that person who has it has an ancestor who worked all his life for that person to just get access to that thing, but then they don't know the hard work behind it, right? Something like what us influencers get molested, or I would say abused at, or pointed out, criticized about online, that इसने तो ये करके body बनाई होगी, or he would have done something like this. He's not natural, or he's got good genetics. I mean, good genetics really? It's like saying I took steroids and I'm a bodybuilder. What about the work that you have to put behind? You can't just sit in your bed or on a sofa or on a couch and do something and then expect the results to just happen, right? It's an equally proportional thing. Like, one comes with the other, it doesn't come without that.
And I mean, I can tell you guys, you might see Vegas online and see him transform and be like, oh yeah, he's probably doing something. I've known him for 8 years and I've seen him toil every single day of the year. Like at morning at 5 o'clock, you would be in the gym, you'd be eating the same food over and over and over again. We'd be lifting together in the gym.
During COVID.
Yeah, during COVID.
Behind enemy lines.
Remember that? So I owned a chain of gyms in China, and what we did during COVID is I had the keys to the gym.
Peak COVID.
We could not switch on the lights because we were not allowed to be in there. Officially, the government had us close the gyms down. So
this is the epicenter of COVID.
So we would take our phones, we would switch on the flash, and then there would be three tripods, put them in the corner for light, and then we would work out in the middle of that. Like I remember, pitch dark, there was nothing visible. We would enter the gym and do this. They were good times.
Make friends with the guard downstairs, telling not to tell anybody.
Really good times actually. I enjoyed them. So bodybuilding is a lot of beautiful things. I've competed before as well. We have seen each other go through the process, and we've also went through the part where you get pretty grumpy.
Yeah.
Close to a competition, you're like, oh, I'm really grumpy right now. I'm like, not in the. And I think my partner has gone through that as well. They've seen this all. So, what has been the biggest? I talked about the grumpy part, but what has been the biggest gift bodybuilding has given you?
I would say being grateful about every little thing in life. And this was something that I learned just recently. I mean, I've given bodybuilding, it's going to be my 15th year.
Wow, 15.
But this was something that I learned just last year. Actually, not last year. My last prep, that was, I would say, the toughest prep of my life.
But I remember I came to India, I asked you to meet him, you were like,
I couldn't meet him, one of my oldest friends and mentor, so you know what it was. And that was something that bodybuilding gave me, and that is something that I cherish I will always cherish, because that was something, being grateful for every little thing we get. Even the fact that I am sitting right now on this chair with 4 walls around me and I'm talking to my mentor and sharing stuff with you is I'm grateful for it. It's a privilege in itself, like everything, like every little gram of food, every little second spent with my family, everything, because life in itself, they have this saying in Gurmukhi that every breath that we take is also udhar ki breath, udhar ki saans. This is also privilege, just every breath that we take is privilege, because some people don't even get to do that.
And how did bodybuilding teach you this? Because you said this is because of bodybuilding, you learned it through your last step as well. But what was that aha moment? Or was it an aha moment? Was it gradual? What happened?
It was definitely a gradual onset, because I like to share this experience that I had at the gym. So during my prep, I just had 2-3 things in mind. I had to get my diet on point, my recovery, and my workouts, because towards the end of the prep, you start hating your workouts, because there is nothing left in the tank, and you still have to go there and do the same thing again and again with probably 1/4 the amount of food your body needs just to maintain its normal bodily functions. And here, on top of that, you're working, you're creating content, you're going to the gym, you're doing fasted cardio, you're waking up early, and 100 more things with just 1/4 of the food. So there was this one time where I got to the gym, and there was a big group of people who came towards me. I think they were newcomers to the gym and they weren't there before, and they recognized me through my content online, and they were not even like youngsters. They were probably 3 of them were 35-year-old, 36-year-old women with their kids, 2 kids who were say 18 or 19. So 5-6 of them, they came and they said stuff to me when I actually needed it the most. I was at my most vulnerable point, depleted, exhausted, exasperated, done, I mean. And they were telling me stuff like, you've done so much for the community, you're giving back. I have left my personal trainer, I started following your reels and I've lost this much weight, showing me transformation pictures. Total strangers, doing this to me, and I just started crying. Imagine me, 6'3", ripped Sikh in the gym. This happens and I'm crying, I'm just crying, and they're like, oh, what happened? Is everything okay? Did you offend you? I'm like, no, I'm just very grateful. And I'm at my lowest point right now, very depleted, and I'm just very grateful, very overwhelmed. That feeling was just completely being overwhelmed, and I just started crying. This was just 3-4 months back, and then that day, that just reminded me of why we do what we do, and how when you give, you receive as well.
So big respect, big respect. Yeah. Because I've done competition prep and I know what it feels like. I know at that point, each step is even a struggle. You're just trying to think to yourself, I can make this next workout. I remember you're only eating food so you can fuel your next workout. You're not even eating food to enjoy it or anything with it. You're just doing it so you have enough energy so you can crack the next workout out. And at that point, I can understand like this is a heart-touching situation, but also can be a lasting impact, right? Like this happened to you. Life is beautiful.
You would understand more because
we both went through it.
You've been through it in an era where we were still, used to tweak salt and tweak water.
You don't do that now.
It's gone. Yeah.
Okay, back in my times, guys. You stop drinking water 3 days before. You would just leave out all the salt and have all the salt cramps. Like once they told me, my coach at the time told me before competition, 3 days depleted, no water in my body. He's like, have 2 shots of vodka.
Oh my God.
I still remember that day. I was nothing in my body, nothing lying. 2 shots, and I was already like, sorry, feeling it. I was already like, what is happening? The coach was like, no, don't worry, this is going to help the water go out of your body. I was like, I trusted the coach and I did it. But I don't think I was in the right place to have 2 shots of vodka at that point. But there were beautiful moments as well, right? I remember once we went for, I've seen you compete as well. Once we went together as well, I believe.
And the first time we met was at
the All-In competition. We were both sponsored by All-In brand. And we met then at the booth. They had the booth and stuff.
You had your competition right after that.
So wait, I need to explore more on this because you can drink water now?
Yeah.
Because my bodybuilding journey has been a lie.
Yeah. So now you don't need to tweak anymore because you're trying to maintain the overall fullness and the roundness of the muscle the entire time. You're trying to minimize the variables and stick to the constants.
Okay.
So I was at somewhere between 4 to 7 liters of water all throughout. Even backstage towards the end, the final day, show day, and the day before that during registration, I was on at least 3.5 liters of water because we were trying to replicate what I had a week before in my peak week. So if you're doing a really proper prep and it's not a crash prep, then you don't need to, because my prep was for almost over 100 days. So
back in my time, the logic used to be that what happens to the body is you are basically you're squeezing the glycogen out of the muscles. You're trying to get as much water from the under the skin as possible until the competition day. So you would appear as vascular, as dry as you could. Competition day, you would start eating carbs back into the body. Why? So that the carbs pull, once the glycogen starts flowing into the muscles, it would also pull water from under the skin.
But then there's no water and salt left to hold.
There's nothing left. Because I can tell you, I'm going to share something honest. When I went for the competition, right, it's a moment of pride. It's something I've been preparing for 3 to 4 months. The only thing I wanted when I stepped on stage was to get out and have a glass of water. Trust me, no matter how much you've been working towards something, when you don't drink water for 3 days, that's the only thing you want.
Yeah.
Only thing you want.
You realize how life.
Wow, okay, I should get back into competing again if I can drink water. That's probably one of the reasons I stopped. Okay, amazing. So now, since we're talking about bodybuilding a bit, you're an esteemed bodybuilder. You've won more gold medals than you can count yourself. What has been behind that? What has been the training? What has been the protocol? And more so in the line that I understand when you're going to compete, it's quite different. But what would you recommend to someone who's just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle? Focus on their fitness, focus on their health, make sure they can run with their kids, make sure they are living till the old age, they can walk, they can pick up stuff. What would you tell them to think about when they think about their own training? And just before you start, most people, what they do is they try to find, the easiest program or the easiest shortcut they can and begin with that, which I think is reputable because you need to start somewhere. But once they achieve a level where they're comfortable in the gym, what would your recommendation be?
See, this topic comes back again down to the fact that people don't have patience anymore. There's so many things out there, so much extra information that people want to try and do everything. Bodybuilding in itself as a sport is a trial and error sport. You don't know what works for you best. It took me 14 years to figure out that my perfect split that works for me in my routine, my regime is push-pull legs. And you know what my plan was, right? We used to train together. Yeah. And I have been following bro split, chest, tricep, back, bicep for the longest time ever.
It took me 15 to figure out I can drink water.
Okay. So 6 months into push-pull legs, I saw gains I haven't seen in the past 6 years. So that was because I gave one regime, one routine, one split, enough time to realize that, okay, this is not working for me. But the problem nowadays with people is, they try something for 2 weeks, they don't get results, they want to switch to something else. Arey bhai, time to do usko yaar.
That's true.
You have to give it at least 3 months, which is even as a personal trainer, 12 weeks is something that you tell every client for clear cut result. If you follow the plan to the teeth, that is. तुमने 2 हफ्ते नहीं किए, तुम्हें कुछ नया try करना है. You see something on somebody else's disease, you want to try that. You haven't given your body enough time to get used to it, because human body, like I always say, I over-exploit this term that human body likes homeostasis. It does not like change. People keep giving it change. The body has not adapted, and then they end up spending 6-8 years, and they're still the same. They were fat, they are fat, they will still remain fat. Because you're not giving it enough time and patience.
Yeah. I remember those times when you would try out every single workout. You would try to surprise the body the same day and try different things. And this is something I realize, at least with age as well, that sometimes you just have to give things time. Right? It could be business, it could be personal life, it could be your fitness as well. It's not a matter of ki aaj kiya kal mila. It's always you have to give it enough time to validate whether you have enough data to certify whether this is working or not working, and if this is something you should continue with or not. Okay, and then this is about trying something for long enough. But what about the people who think that I have to spend 2 hours in the gym if I need to be healthy, if I need to be fit? What is your views on that? Because what I believe is you need to move your body as the first thing. It doesn't need to be 2 hours in the gym doing a workout which you saw someone else do.
Something that I have seen in his profile also, that he's a shredded tech CEO. Something that there's an underlying tone of this one phrase that I exploit a lot again: consistency over intensity. So people are trying to, okay, I have 2 days off, I'm going to kill myself in the gym, do everything they can get their hands on, and then 3 days are off. So the body is not getting that consistent tension. Even if it means getting up from the bed, going getting your groceries, doing 10 minutes of walk every day. I'd rather you do that than go to the gym just 2 days a week and killing yourself, and then the rest 5 days you're not doing anything. So consistency over intensity.
And you also told us, right, with your coach Kabir, you've been working on programs which you're delivering to the public right now. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And you don't tell people that this is the perfect 5-day program. This is the only thing I want you to follow, right? How does that work? Tell us the structure of that.
There is no perfect plan. Again, so there are, starting from a beginner level, 2-day splits, 3-day splits, 4-day splits, and even 5 days. Everything. Try with the 2-day split. Work that for, say, a month, 2 months, 3 months. If you think the intensity is not enough and you still feel you can do more, try the 3-day split, then the 4, then the 5, then the 6, So
I love that.
You have to figure out what works for you.
This is something I noticed in the fitness industry where influencers try to sell you one perfect program, exactly what they're doing. You go to the gym 6 days, and if it's not working, it's probably something wrong with you. But the thing is, not everyone can afford that time, that energy, that effort. They don't have the
that works for them, not necessarily works for you.
So I love this part. Thank you for doing that. It's really good. You're helping people, adjust as per their level instead of just telling them this is what worked for Vegas. You're going to follow this and you're going to have this. And then, we talked a bit about training and how it's important to move your body. But something we hear quite often is, and I've heard this so much, is overtraining, right? Where people say that, I have a 3-day program. If I go for the 4th day, I'll be overtraining. But I've heard this personally myself. Sometimes I really enjoy going to the gym or doing any kind of physical activity. I train twice a day, and people are like, you must be overtraining. Are you crazy? You'll burn out. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to harm yourself. So what are your thoughts on this concept of overtraining?
Very, very exaggerated term. People don't understand what the meaning behind it is. So everybody understands their own body, right?
Yeah.
Because there are times when you know that you're tired because your body talks to you.
Yeah.
It talks to you, right? The fact that you're tired, you're sore all over, and you're still pushing yourself to go to the gym just because you saw somebody doing the same thing 7 days a week, but not what he does behind it. You tried copying that. That for me is overtraining. Because you're tired. You can feel it. Your body is talking to you. You're ignoring those indications, those signs, and you're doing that. That is overtraining. Not the fact that, even you would understand this more than anybody. Hypertrophy.
Yeah.
They say you cannot train to failure every time, right? It's probably once in 3 sessions or 4 sessions where you push. You just can't, because you're not getting that kind of recovery and rest and the same. You're not in that same regime every time. It's just once in 3 or 4 days where you want to test your strength and push past those barriers. Probably hit a few PRs. Again, overtraining in this sense is where you're trying to hit a PR every time. Your body is not up to the mark. You cannot have 100% recovery every day unless you're even the best of the best. I don't think Christian Bumstead has had 100% recovery all day his life. No, right? There are things that affect you. Sometimes you don't sleep well. Sometimes
life happens.
You don't diet well. There are a few things that you need to figure out, adapt, and overcome. So people don't do that. They think, okay, I have a routine, I have to stick to that. But you need to understand that there probably might be two things that went wrong today and maybe 8 things that went wrong tomorrow. How can you maintain the same intensity?
I agree completely about this concept of overtraining. I think, like the example I like to give is in the ancient times, we used to go to war and every day we would be walking and fighting for 12 to 20 hours a day. And if you tell me that the same body, if it goes twice to the gym right now, is going to struggle and not fit in, I don't count that as factual. What I do believe though, and I think you'll agree as well, is that you need to get it to that point.
Exactly.
It's not that the first day you go to the gym, you're like, okay, I'll go to the gym 3 times in this one day and then 3 times the next 3 days.
Exactly.
Of course you'll hurt yourself, of course you'll injure yourself. And this is where I said, guys, that the programming is quite important. And reference to Vegas, he already has a lot of work put out on that. But I think programming and being conscious and mindful of what is going on with your body, right? Because the body is a machine, but the machine also works with the proper oil, proper setup, etc. You can't just keep pushing it if it's making a noise. I love that. And then we also mentioned that training and recovery go hand in hand. You mentioned about recovery and Chris Bumstead's recovery. So what do you do for your recovery? Like, I believe that that's an important aspect, right? You're not overtraining, you're under recovery, which is something I truly believe in. So what do you do to take care of your recovery?
So for me, the one thing that again this previous prep taught me, and a few work commitments also, I'm very grateful they happened, because this is something that our parents have badgered us our entire life. They're so जिंदगी में कुछ कर ले, कुछ बन जा. This is something my dad used to always say, कुछ कर ले, कुछ बन जा. This is something that first thing our day used to start off with is, I used to find it so irritating, me and my brother, but we realized how important it was. Starting your day early, like, imagine, I read this, I heard it about Sunil Chhetri, the Indian footballer, in his podcast, so beautifully said. Imagine you waking up early at 5 a.m. Would you want, you've slept at 9, you woke up at 5, you had 8 hours of quality sleep. Now imagine you had 8 hours of quality sleep, you have woken up without an alarm. Would you at that point want to get up and have a glass of water or have a plate of chola bhatura? Very naturally, you woke up early, you would want to do something good, right? Something healthy there. That's how your mind works. You wake up at 11 and somebody offers you a cold coffee with aloo ka paratha with two cubes of butter. You would be like, oh my god, my day is made. Would you wake up at 11 a.m. and want to have a freshly made orange juice or whatever? No. That's how the body works. Because you have pushed past breakfast time, you are waking up where people's half days are happening, I mean, their day is almost halfway through and your day is starting at that point of time. So I feel the first thing and the most important thing is sleep early, wake up early. That's it. Because this is the first thing you do in the day. Everything else will fall in line. Be it your diet, be it your workout, be it your routine. That's it.
I remember my parents had this poster put up on the wall, early to bed, early to rise, and it's Jack, healthy, wealthy, and wise, if I remember correctly. So it's all, like, that's what they've been teaching us since we were young, right? Sleep is one of the aspects, but then, one thing I hear about a lot, and I've studied a lot into it as well, is how stress can impact your recovery. What should you do around stress when it's linked with your recovery? How should you take care of it?
The 3 S's in life: stress, salt, and sugar, right? So stress. See, like I just explained, we don't even know whether we're going to be alive tomorrow. There is no guarantee to that. I know this sounds very melodramatic and filmy and Bollywood, but it's actually the truth. And if you ask me, are you going to be alive tomorrow? I have no physical proof that I will be alive. So why worry about something that has not even happened and you don't even know whether you will get to that point, right?
I love that.
So that is one thing. The faster you realize this, take one day at a time. I would say at this point of time where you don't know what's going to happen outside on the road, some maniac is going to drive his car over you. Take 1 hour or 1 minute at a time. That's it. Enjoy what you're doing right now. Put in everything you have right now and then think about something that face things head on when they come in front of you, right? Don't try to plan and prepare for something you don't even know whether it's going to happen or not. So that is one thing I would really
brings my mind. Have you seen the movie Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
It's
my favorite movie.
My favorite movie. I agree, guys. It's my favorite.
We watched it within 3 times with 3 different friends.
But Master Wu Wei, before he disappears, he tells Panda, Pooh, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. And I agree with you completely. Like exactly what you're saying. Right? You live in the today. You can always worry about the past, about the future, but if you keep doing that, you forget what's the most important, which is
right now.
Exactly. Right now, here is what matters. And with that, guys, right now we were here sitting with Vegas. Thank you so much, Vegas. This was a pleasure. Anything else you would like to express to the audience? Anything we missed out on?
I'm very grateful and honored. I mean, and
Then I'll ask one small question. Which bicep is bigger? Tell the audience today. Come on, let it out. Which is the bigger bicep?
I think it's the right one.
Guys. Same here. We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Please continue with it.
So, okay, now I get it. Oh, shit. Blooper. Okay, anyway, so actually, this was one of. I mean, I like to talk about things. I like to do meaningful conversations. I know this is not actually a podcast because that's not how you vision it. That is one very big thing I really admire and I was looking forward to. One thing, because we were talking about things that have not been talked about a lot, and if they have been talked about very superficially. Like, these are things that people actually need to talk about, and they're not.
That's true.
They talk about stuff, sir, आप क्या करते हो, शुगर का ये होता है, benefit ये होता है, fat का ये होता है, आप ये beverage पी लो तो उससे क्या होता है. These are things you can figure out online or somewhere. Just like I said, access to information is everywhere, but these are things that people really need to understand because these are the basics of life, right? And as an athlete or a sportsman, or say even as a human being who's trying to, pursue a fit life or a healthy life, these are his basics or her basics. So I'm very glad that this is out there now and people can, learn something from this and implement it in their lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think my goal also is that, there are some things which are sexy for social media. Like if I have you remove your shirt here, it's probably going to be getting this video a lot more views.
Yes.
But that's not the goal. Like what I want to do is share genuine information from your expertise as a doctor, as a bodybuilder, as an individual who has put his own body through all the trials. The information you know inside about why this happens, how it works is much more valuable than me asking you, hey, you're having this coffee, what is the sugar content behind this? Well, how's this going to impact your diet right now? And that's what I want you to do with this. So thank you, Vegas, so much for sharing your insights. Are we shirt off right now?
Value, guys, value.
Thank you so much, Vegas. It was a pleasure.